following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. We got college football playoffs. We're picking games. We got NFL picks and lots to talk about when it comes to the draft as well. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky, Pet Friendly Box, and Vid Angel. I'm your host, Vince Stover, joined as I am every week by my dad, Dale Stover. How you doing, Dad?
Doing good. Lots going on in the old football world these days. So,
yeah, I got in the vehicle after church and the radio came on. There was a football game on. I thought it's Wednesday night. Boca Raton Bowl, Western Kentucky and JMU tied, or no, JMU's up 17-14 at the end of third quarter. So yeah, lots of football. Of course, we've got the college football playoffs this week, which we're going to talk about. Breaking news. Diego Pavia from the Vanderbilt Commodores granted another year of eligibility. He reached out and applied for this when saying basically his JUCO years shouldn't count against him. They sided with him, which should open the door for other people down the road as well. So it looks like as of now, Vanderbilt has their quarterback back next year unless he transfers, which would be hilarious. But right now, that's what it looks like is Vanderbilt has their quarterback returning next year, which should be pretty exciting news for Vanderbilt faithful, all three of them. But, Dad, we have finally come to the playoff weekend. We got a bunch of games going on this weekend, and we need to talk about them and figure out who's going to win these games. So let's start off with the first game, which will be on Friday night at 8 p.m., and that's Indiana at Notre Dame. Indiana is just excited to be there. Notre Dame is they get a lot of flack this year because their schedule really wasn't very good. Obviously, they're not in a conference, so they don't have to deal with conference championships. Of course, Indiana didn't have to deal with that either. So this is going to be a fun game, Dad. At Notre Dame, it should be a pretty raucous crowd, I would assume, and I think probably a pretty cool environment for the first ever 8-team college or 12-team college football playoffs. I think it's going to be a fun one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it will be. Like I said, of course, it'd be a great atmosphere at Notre Dame, but it being another in-state team, that definitely makes it exciting. Indiana has seemed to be the real thing. They didn't win the last big game they needed to, but they have played well. You could say they didn't play the best teams in the conference. But like you said, Notre Dame didn't necessarily play a killer schedule either. So this will be an interesting game. I think it'll come down, Indiana's coach, of course, got a big extension. They're planning on Indiana being a football power for a while. And this game would definitely propel them in that direction. So be very interesting. A good game and a good game to start out with Friday night.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think that both teams are 11-1. Indiana comes in as a 7-point underdog in this game. When it comes to the air game, Indiana has stats-wise way better, almost 800 yards more per game with passing yards. But when you look at rushing the ball, Notre Dame has been better, 700 more yards per game, yards on the season than Indiana does. Both teams have scored a fair amount. Indiana's averaging 43.3 points a game, Notre Dame 40.8 points a game. And the defenses have both played really, really good football. IU has only allowed 14.6 points per game, and Notre Dame 13.5 points per game. When you look at the losses, though, both teams with one loss. Indiana lost to Ohio State by 23 points. Notre Dame's one loss came early in the season to Northern Illinois by 2 points, and kind of an ugly weather game and all that kind of stuff too. So really, when you look at the loss from Notre Dame, even though it was not a great team, circumstances early in the season, all that kind of stuff, they've they've been a lot better since that loss, basically, I guess. Dad, I look at this game and I think Notre Dame's probably the better team. I usually lean towards rushing, whoever's the better rushing team in playoff formats. And even though we've never seen this kind of playoff format in college football before, I don't know, Dad. History kind of points to Notre Dame. Rushing points to Notre Dame. Defense slightly leans towards Notre Dame. The one good team Indiana played, they did not beat, and they didn't even come close to beating. So, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning Notre Dame in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Things point toward Notre Dame. Again, I definitely would be for Indiana in this one, and I think it could come down to be a very close game. So I'll pick Indiana. Again, that's probably not the smartest pick. But again, being a Big Ten team, we'll see what that means. Did they play, more competition where they're in a better situation? Again, Notre Dame being at home is tough, but again, this is Indiana, so they're there. It'll obviously be dominant, Notre Dame, I would think. I don't know how tickets worked on this. I assume, that they were offered to both schools and stuff like that. So, definitely Indiana would have had no trouble selling all their allotment, to fans there. So I'll go with Indiana. I can't say I'm totally confident on that, but that's definitely who I'm for.
I think I like the underdogs. If I was a gambling man, I like the underdogs in all four of these games. But I don't know, Dad. For as far as winning the game goes, I have a hard time seeing Notre Dame not win this game. Indiana could, obviously. None of these games are clear favorite, I don't think. I think all these games should have the potential to be really, really cool. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes down. All right. So let's go to SMU and Penn State. Both of these teams are 2-loss teams, 11-2 on the year. SMU is an 8.5-point underdog. The stats wise, very, very similar. Yardage, on the air, in the air and on the ground, both very similar. SMU with a slight nod to the passing yards. Penn State with a slight nod to the rushing yards. SMU averaged 39.9 points per game. Penn State 35.2. Their losses, both of them have 2 losses, yet all their losses were pretty close games. SMU lost to BYU by 3 and Clemson by 3 in the ACC championship, while Penn State lost to Ohio State by a touchdown and Oregon by 8 points. So against 2 of the better teams in the nation, they were within a touchdown of. So, you come in, Penn State's getting the early look at this one. But, Dad, I really lean towards SMU in this game because I just feel like they're actually the more complete team. And I like, they got their loss out of the way. The Clemson still made the playoffs. Had they beaten Clemson, I might be a little bit more concerned about them in their first game. But having that loss, now you come in making sure you're fully dialed in. So I like SMU in this game.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see SMU win, but I would have to pick Penn State in this. Penn State's a really good team. And again, with this one being at home, I think Penn State will be too much for SMU. It'd be fun to see SMU win. I might even be cheering for them, but I think on this one, to be safe, I would have to pick Penn State.
Okay. I did a quick look, Dad. It says that there is 3,500 tickets being given to the visiting team, 500 of those available to the band. So there you go. 3,000 tickets, not band tickets, allotted to each team. And then, of course, people can buy them online as well. I'm intrigued by your pick of Penn State. I think a lot of people are going to lean that way just because they're more traditional powerhouse. But again, I don't know. I don't trust in Penn State the same way other people do. And I'll go SMU in that one. Clemson and Texas is the next one. Clemson is the team that snuck in thanks to a championship win over SMU. They're 10-3 on the year. They are 12-point underdogs to Texas. Texas is a 2-loss team, but they have only lost to one team, Dad. Texas has only lost to Georgia this year. They just lost to them 2 different times. Clemson has the slight advantage in rushing yards, but they're very close in their stats this year. Clemson scored 37.4 points a game, Texas 35.5 points per game. Clemson lost to Georgia by 31 points. Texas lost to Georgia 2 times by a total of 18 points. 15 points the first time and 3 points in overtime in the SEC championship game. Clemson also lost to Louisville by 12 and South Carolina by 3. To me, I'm all in on Texas, Dad. I said going into the year, I thought Ohio State and Texas would be the best teams. I was wrong about Ohio State, but I still feel pretty confident Texas is one of the better teams out there, maybe a top 3 team currently still around. And so I'll go Texas in this game.
Yeah, I'll go Texas in this one too. I mean, I like Dabo Swinney a lot, and it's kind of interesting that they got in because of winning the championship there. So that was kind of the way this playoff's been set up. But Texas is a very good team, and they could go all the way in this. So I definitely think Texas would win this one.
All right, we agree on that one. The last game of the weekend is going to be Tennessee at Ohio State. Both of these teams are 10-2. Tennessee is a 7.5 point underdog going up to Columbus. In this game, Ohio State has the advantage in the passing yards, but Tennessee has 700 more rushing yards on the year than Ohio State. They both average just over 37 points per game. Tennessee, in their 2 losses, they lost to Arkansas by 5 and Georgia by 2 touchdowns. Ohio State lost to Oregon and Michigan. Oregon by 1, Michigan by 3. So close ones in their losses here. On the road at Ohio State's not an easy place to go, but as we've seen from Michigan, it's not an impossible place to go either. Again, I lean towards rushing yards, and Tennessee with a massive advantage on the ground leads me to Tennessee. And yes, that might be a little bit of favoritism sneaking in there as well. But I'm going to pick Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, I've seen both these teams play quite a bit, this year, being a Tennessee fan and living here in Ohio. Ohio State is a very, very good team. Tennessee, though, is good, and sometimes they can play exceptional. Their defense has played really well. And again, I think the key here will be, with offense, from what I've watched, and it may not be true in every game, but Ohio State can tend to start slow.
Yeah.
And so I think if Tennessee can get the lead and they can rush the ball like they have been able to against most everybody, then, they can set things up if their quarterback can play well. Ohio State's a very solid team. They have a good defense, no doubt about that. And they have obviously the ability to score. They've got some great weapons on the outside, and they have good running backs also. Like I said, I like either team that wins this one. Be interesting with them going on. I think this is the best matchup of the first round as far as 2 really good teams. But I'll go with Tennessee because I like Tennessee, and I don't think this is a long shot. They have a chance. They're well coached. Ohio State is too, but Tennessee's well coached. They'll be ready for this, and if the defense can make the big plays that they have potential to, and then they can get it to where they can run the ball or control game because they've got got a really good running back, good offensive line, and the quarterback, can run well. So I'll go with Tennessee, but this will be a good game. And everybody up here where I live will be watching this one. So,
yeah, I don't really believe in Ohio State's quarterback, Will Howard. I still don't really get that transfer. I mean, I know he's 10-2 and 4 points away from being 12-0, but still, I'm just not a believer in that. And Dylan Sampson has been so amazing at Tennessee running the football. Yeah, I like that. And like you said, Tennessee's defense, it can show up and it can be crazy good at times as well. Yeah, I think Tennessee, Ohio State, and I think SMU, Penn State are going to be the 2 better games. I think Texas will handle Clemson. I don't know, Dad. Notre Dame, Indiana still kind of I'm not sure that it's going to be a great game. I hope it is. The atmosphere should be phenomenal in that one as well. So yeah, exciting times. We got the college football playoffs starting on Friday and then concluding on Saturday in this first round. Should bring a lot of fun to the TV screen this weekend and for college football fans everywhere for sure. Anything else college football related, Dad? I guess we can talk about Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. Congrats to him. I still think that it should have been Jeanty, the running back from Boise State, but that's just me. No ill will against Hunter, and congrats to him, I suppose. There, Dad. It reminds me so much of the Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson year, where it seems like one guy had this historical season in Ashton Jeanty, and then Travis Hunter plays both sides of the ball, so he's kind of the novel creature in the situation. Not a bad player, not necessarily undeserving, but maybe not the guy who should have won.
Yeah, Hunter was a great player. They both did very, very well. I don't have any problem with the pick on that. So again, should be a great. I've been looking forward to this college playoffs coming up, and I think we've got 4 good games this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see. And I think we'll have good games, the next weekend too.
Yeah. So that's our college football coverage for the day. Make sure you check out our sponsors, VidAngel. If you go to the show description, you'll see a link there for VidAngel. Use promo code STOVE. You can get free trial with VidAngel. Again, you get this download to your streaming device, and it allows you to censor out language and violence and things of that nature to make TV a little bit more family friendly. Appreciate VidAngel jumping on with us here for the conclusion of the year. So again, use the link in the show description and use the code STOVE at checkout. Get yourself a free trial there with VidAngel. All right, Dad, let's transition. Let's talk some NFL. All right, there is so much to talk about with the NFL, Dad. I want to start with the NFL news, and of course, quarterbacks is the story going into this week as people are getting benched left and right. Also, Aaron Rodgers, by the way, says if the Jets bring him back next year, he's willing to mentor a quarterback. I'm not sure that the Jets want him to mentor a quarterback. So that was an interesting thing to watch and continue to hear Rodgers talk about. If he stays, he'll take a pay cut. If he needs to, he'll mentor a quarterback, all this kind of stuff. I mean, gracious. Gracious. That's all I can say with that thing. But we got quarterbacks getting benched. Jameis Winston gets benched in Cleveland. Dorian Thomas-Robinson takes over there. And Kirk Cousins gets benched in Atlanta. Michael Penix takes over. Will Levis getting benched again as well this week. Mason Rudolph there in Tennessee. Dad, of Winston, Levis, and Cousins, who are you most surprised about?
Probably be Winston, maybe, but he hasn't played that well from there. Cousins, I'm not really surprised about. It seems like maybe they're just getting a look at what they've got with Penix, and they're not mathematically out of it yet, but we'll see how that goes from there. Tennessee, benching Levis doesn't. That's not a real surprise, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, Atlanta's only a game out. They're 7-7. Tampa's 8-6. And I'm not against this move. I've had Kirk Cousins on my fantasy teams, and it's been greatly disappointing. And he's had these interceptions. I think he's only thrown 1 touchdown since week 10, if I remember correct. So, he hasn't been good. So, I mean, yeah, you drafted this guy in the first round. I guess why not throw him out there and see what he's got, right?
Yeah, I think so. Cousins, definitely has struggled here lately. And, again, they see things in practice. I'm sure they've been working towards setting this up. And, it'd be very interesting to see how well he can play.
Yeah, and Drew Lock, by the way, is taking over in New York this week as well with the Giants as well. So lots of quarterback news going on there. When you look at the current situation, the playoff, the way the playoffs are looking, again, you've got 4 teams clinched in the American League. 3 of those have clinched their division already. The Chiefs, the Bills, and the Texans. The Steelers have clinched a playoff spot. And then you've got Baltimore and Denver. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the Chargers currently in over in the American League with Indianapolis, Miami, and Cincinnati all 2 games back for that final wild card spot. In the National Football Conference, you've got Detroit, Philadelphia, and Minnesota have all clinched. The Packers can clinch this week, which would be 3 NFC North teams clinched before 3 other conferences have clinched their division. But Dad, you've got Washington at 9-5, Tampa at 8-6, and the Rams at 8-6, currently on the top of the NFC West. Seattle is right there, tied with the Rams, Falcons, Cardinals at 7-7, 49ers and Cowboys at 6-8, and the Saints yet to be eliminated at 5-9. When you look at the eliminated teams and the teams fighting for that elusive number 1 overall draft pick, you got the Giants and the Raiders at 2-12, Panthers, Patriots, Titans, Jaguars, and Browns at 3-11. Bears and Jets at 4-10, all eliminated from the playoffs. What are your thoughts on these teams that have been eliminated?
Well, I looked at that a little bit, and I think there's a good chance that the 2-12 teams and the 3-11 teams may not win another game. So they may stay right there in the win total. I don't think there's anything really guaranteed there. Carolina maybe has played a little bit better, but I don't think they have, any sure. Well, I don't think any of these teams have any sure wins coming up. No doubt about that. So maybe somebody will get a win there, but it may just stay just about like it looks right now for those bottom 6 teams or so.
Yeah, and you've already got the let's see here, of those teams, none of them, the Bears and the Jets at 4-10, are the ones that'll be hiring new coaches at the end of the season. These other teams have not fired their coaches yet. The Giants very well could. The Raiders possibly could. Jaguars could, I suppose. But yeah, it's really intriguing to watch and see kind of where they are. And you look at these teams, Dan, there are not that many quarterbacks available in the draft. And when you look at the Giants and the Raiders, well, then you're looking at Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward possibly. Panthers, I don't know that they'll draft a quarterback this year, at least not in the first round. Patriots aren't. The Titans, they're going to need a quarterback. Jaguars probably won't. The Browns need a quarterback. Not sure if they'll draft one or not. The Bears don't. The Jets need one for the future for sure. So I got to thinking about what are some quarterbacks that are going to be available in the offseason that teams could go get if they did not want to draft a quarterback. I've got kind of like a 2-tier list, I suppose. And tier 1, I've got guys like Kirk Cousins, who's the veteran, of course, of the group. Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields are technically veterans as well. They could be available. Trubisky's back in Buffalo this year, Fields in Pittsburgh. So those are 3 guys that possibly. Kenny Pickett, he spent a year now as a backup in Philadelphia. Maybe he gets another opportunity somewhere else to compete for a starting job. And so there's kind of like that group. Then there's Hendon Hooker, who's yet to play it down in a regular season game. But he's the backup to Jared Goff, and it just seems like Detroit's going to be riding out this Jared Goff train for a while, and maybe Hendon Hooker becomes available for a decent price that you can go out and give him a try, the second-round pick from 2 years ago. And then you got some other guys that to me are more second-tier guys. Derek Carr from New Orleans may be available. Jameis Winston is probably available. Will Levis sounds like he's going to be available next year. Maybe a change of scenery helps him out. Taylor Heineke, who was in Washington for a while, currently with the Chargers, has some potential. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, he was suspended at the beginning of the year, but he's currently with the Rams. And again, kind of that veteran voice that has had some success. That may be a kind of guy that you can start the season with, I guess, as well. Dad, do any of those names jump out at you as, hey, if I got a team that, if I'm not going to be the first 2 picks and there's no good quarterbacks to draft, in my opinion, after those first two. And I'm not completely sold on Cam Ward just yet, but he will be a top draft pick. So you're sitting there and you're the third team looking for a quarterback. Do any of those names intrigue you?
I think the best one of the bunch is Fields.
Mm.
To me, that would be the guy I would go after, depending a little bit on the team and the system, maybe. But I think he has got potential. After seeing what Sam Darnold has done this year, you wonder maybe Mitchell Trubisky, do you give him another chance? I think that's another name to look at. Again, I think Fields is probably, you know, the best maybe of the bunch there. But you got Trubinsky, and again, maybe they'll look at some of these other guys. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, what about a change of scenery for Will Levis? It just surely feels like Tennessee's done with him. So you can probably get him pretty cheap. And if you're a team like, I'm trying to think through the Cleveland, a team like I mean, gracious, I don't know. One of these the Saints. I mean, there's teams that are going to need quarterbacks that aren't going to be able to draft a top one. To me, Will Levis is the kind of player that would be great if you could get him up in Buffalo to sit behind Josh Allen for a year and kind of learn from, because he's a similar playing style. And I think that would be good. But, Dad, the names that intrigue me really are Kenny Pickett and Hendon Hooker. We've seen Pickett in Pittsburgh, and we know it didn't really work out great for him there. But he's been sitting behind Jalen Hurts now for a year. Get him in a new scenario. Give him another opportunity, especially if you're going to draft a guy in the second or third round, or you've got a veteran guy, that you're kind of trying to figure out. And then Hooker's just the unknown, but had a great ending to his college career at Tennessee. Gets drafted in Detroit. He was injured when he got drafted. And Jared Goff is just not letting go of the reins there in Detroit. So, again, I don't know what you can get him for, but maybe an intriguing candidate to go out and compete at Carolina or compete at a place like Cleveland. Those are intriguing ones to me, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hooker is intriguing, and Pickett, maybe worth a chance too. And like you said, with the lack of quarterbacks coming out in the draft, this may make sense. Teams may make some moves that way, and then even second, third round can draft one of these new quarterbacks and take a shot there. And again, we talk about Will Levis. Be good to sit under somebody. Maybe he's the guy for Aaron Rodgers to mentor. Who knows? So
I don't know about that one so much, but maybe so. To me, Carolina makes sense. Again, he's a big athletic quarterback. Maybe Philadelphia if Kenny Pickett goes somewhere else. Like, just put him in a place that has a system that makes sense for his skill set. And let him learn a little bit from there. Even Baltimore, different build than Lamar Jackson, but again, Will Levis at his best is a mobile quarterback that's out athletic, running around. So I think that's what he needs for next year, and then maybe the year after he can compete for a starting job somewhere again. Well, anyways, let's get into our picks. Dad, we're in week 16 of the NFL season. I cannot believe we're this far in already. You had another great week with your picks last week, 6-0 in your pick sixes last week. So congratulations to you there. Each week we pick 6 games, all the primetime games for the week, and then we fill out with our whatever games we want the rest of the way. And so we're going to start on Thursday night with the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. Winner is in a great spot in the playoff race. Loser is now suddenly in danger in the playoffs as well. The Chargers are 3-point favorites at home in this game. You've kind of leaned towards Denver a lot this year, Dad. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, this could be a really close game, but I have leaned with Denver, and I'll pick Denver in this one. But again, the Chargers have more. They need to win a little bit more. Denver's not got things sewed up yet, but with having 9 wins, they're a little bit ahead of some of these other teams that are chasing for the playoffs here. if the Chargers lose, again, I think both these teams will probably make the playoffs. They're probably the two wild card teams. But, we'll just have to see where things go. I was trying to look. Denver probably needs to win this because they've got a little bit tougher the last two games. The Chargers, after this one, have two games they really ought to win with New England and Las Vegas. So it's a little bit both ways. Denver has Cincinnati and then Kansas City. So, be a little tougher there. But I'll pick Denver in this one because I've gone with them. Their defense has made a lot of big plays. And Bo Nix that's just amazing to me when I watch that. So, good for them. And again, both good coaches, but Denver's got, really good coach, and they seem to have things going. So I'll pick Denver, but this should be an interesting game.
Yeah, I'm just not a believer in Denver. Even though they've had a great year, I'm just not a believer yet. And so I'll go with the Chargers in this one and trust them, although with their injuries, they've had some less than stellar performances. But I'm going to go with the Chargers in this game, so we'll go opposite in that one. Sunday night is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to the Dallas Cowboys. Last week, the Cowboys were 3-point underdogs to Carolina. They ended up taking care of business there. This week, they're 4-point underdogs at home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Cowboys, if they get a win on Sunday night, are still in the hunt for the playoffs, the wild card spot there, Dad. How do you feel about Dallas and Tampa?
Well, definitely I'll go with Tampa on this. Tampa's on a roll, and they can win the division here. They need to win this. I think they're playing better football. Dallas had a big game against Carolina, but that's kind of what it was. So I think Tampa should win this. Dallas is not mathematically eliminated, but I don't think Dallas is going to make the playoffs. So,
well, I don't either. But I mean, last week we both picked Carolina to beat Dallas, and you say, well, they beat them. It is what it is. Well, I mean, neither of us had confidence that Dallas was going to beat Carolina, and they handled Carolina. So we got to give them a little bit of credit at the very least, because you got to win games that you're playing. So. But I'm going Tampa as well in this game. They've got this rookie receiver that's really been playing well. The running backs are really, really good also. The defense is good. And again, I just don't believe in Cooper Rush. So, and Jerry Jones said they think Cooper Rush is the best option. They're not going to give Trey Lance a shot. So, I'm going to go Tampa in this game also and hope they don't let me down on that one. Monday night, Dad, is the Green Bay Packers hosting the New Orleans Saints. The Saints did just sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was released by the Kansas City Chiefs. So does that make them dangerous? Well, I don't think so. Not in Lambeau Field. Packers, 14.5-point favorite, have been playing some really good football. The Saints, not so much, Dad. I'm going Green Bay at home.
Yeah, I'll go Green Bay at home, too. Again, I think Green Bay will be very focused on this. This is a game they could – they'll have to guard against looking past because the big game the next week with the Vikings. But they are playing well. I think they'll play well. New Orleans is not a good team. And, I haven't looked exactly ahead to see what the weather is going to be. But Green Bay can play good offense in about any kind of weather. And so I think, if they can score, the defense is playing really good right now. And so I think they should be able to definitely hold down New Orleans. And again, they'll clinch a playoff spot with this win. So there's a lot on the line. And they seem to, Coach LaFleur seems to keep, be able to keep them focused well. I think Love's provided good leadership in that way too, as well as some of the other, veterans with McKinney and Jacobs. So I think they'll be ready to play on Monday night, and I think the Packers should win this one.
All righty. We got 4 days of NFL football this weekend, 2 games on Saturday, and then the rest of the slate Sunday, Monday, and Thursday, of course, as well. So we picked our 3 primetime games, Dad. Let's pick 3 more. Who's game number 4 for you this week?
Um, Mathematically, they're still in the hunt, even though I don't think, especially based on their schedule, they'll make it. But I'll take the Bengals over the Browns. Again, a rivalry game, but they're at home here in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati still has a shot. I saw where Burrow is questionable, I guess, but I think he'll be able to play, and I I think the Bengals should win this one, and they've still got some motivation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Browns are on their third quarterback. Haven't been good with either of the first two quarterbacks, really. Bengals are playing better, putting up a ton of points as well. And I did not use this as one of my pick sixes, but I do like it for sure. I think the Bengals do get the win this week. I'm going to go with a road game, Dad, for my fourth game, and that's going to be Arizona over Carolina. Again, Carolina's really not that good. Arizona is still in the hunt for the NFC West division, and they just got the big advantage in this, in my opinion, in this game. So I'm going Arizona over Carolina. Any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I did not pick that one for my pick six, but I think that's a safe pick. From there, again, Arizona a little tricky because they don't always come out playing well, but they've got a shot here at the division. And Carolina's been kind of surprising at times. They weren't last week, but yeah, I think Arizona is definitely the pick in this one.
All right, your fifth game this week. Who are you picking?
I hope this is a safe one. It's a division game, but I'll take Buffalo and New England. Buffalo over New England at home. Buffalo, needs to keep rolling here, and again, this is a division game, and New England again haven't won a lot of games, but they can sometimes throw up a fight. But I think this is safe. I'll take Buffalo.
I looked at that one too, Dad, and here's what concerns me about that one. They've clinched the division. They're 2 games back for the 1 seed from Kansas City. There's still something to play for, but not as much. And so being it's a division game, you've clinched last week for the division. Like, I could see a letdown here from Buffalo. They should win this game, but New England's going to be ready for it. And of all the bad teams, New England's got some good things happening for them right now too. So, and Buffalo's defense has not looked good these last couple of games. So, I did not pick this one as my pick six. I am picking Buffalo as well, just not in my pick six because this one kind of scares me a little bit, to be completely honest with you. Even though Buffalo definitely should win that game. I'm going to go for my fifth game this week, the Detroit Lions over the Chicago Bears. Detroit on the road. This is the kind of game that typically would scare me. Again, it's end of the season. Chicago kind of plays spoiler. But, man, Chicago, they've just been a mess. It's not just that they're bad. Their locker room seems to be a mess. Their quarterback seems to be depressed. Like, there's just no positive signs coming out of Chicago right now. And so I'm not really scared of them at the moment for Detroit. I'm going to go Lions over Bears this week. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I didn't pick this one for my pick six, but I did pick Detroit. I mean, this is a classic game. I wish both teams could lose, but that's not going to happen. I wanted to pick Chicago. I've listened to a lot of radio up in Wisconsin, and I've heard some people trying to explain that, the Bears, but they just haven't been able to play well and haven't been able to rally. Detroit is hurt, no doubt about that, but Chicago just hasn't played well enough. So I think I would have to pick Detroit in this one here. So.
All right. So game number 6, who are you picking?
Boy, I went round and around on this one with several games, but I finally settled on the Colts at home against the Titans. Again, the Colts technically are still, I guess, in the hunt, even though I don't think that is going to happen. But the Titans are not good either, and this is at Indianapolis and a division game. So I looked at several. I almost took Miami in this one, but I'll go with Indianapolis over Tennessee.
All right. So here's what you're overlooking in this game, Dad. What is a week from today?
A week from today.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Who is now the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans? Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph. There we go.
I'm just saying, you got a quarterback named Rudolph on Christmas week. Watch out. Titans are coming to town. I'll pick Indianapolis as well. That's not my pick 6 because, again, Colts haven't been great. Titans haven't been great, but you get the fresh quarterback and, new energy in the room and all that kind of stuff. I'm intrigued to see how that game goes. I don't trust Indianapolis, basically, is what it comes down to for me on that one. So I say all that to say that my last game I'm picking is a quarterback who's never started in the NFL before, and that's Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons. They're playing the Giants. The Giants are so bad. The Falcons, they are so close to being good. They just need a decent performance from a quarterback. I don't know that Michael Penix will give it to him. First game starting, it's kind of probably not a smart pick necessarily. I just think the Giants are that bad. I think Atlanta's going to come out ready to go, and maybe Penix doesn't light it up necessarily, but I think they do enough to get the win this week. And again, I'm probably picking against the Giants even more than I'm picking for the Falcons. But I'm going to go Falcons in this one. What do you expect out of Michael Penix in his first game as a starter?
Well, I really have, I have no idea, and I don't know if Atlanta is. It's a matter of the other quarterback has just played so bad, or if Penix has been coming along and he's ready for this. I did pick Atlanta in my picks, but I almost picked the Giants because the one thing the Giants do every now and then is play defense. And when you got a new quarterback, it may be an interesting game. But again, the Giants, do they want to mess up their draft pick?
Right.
Because that's all they're going to do in this one with a win. Atlanta, is technically still in the hunt. And, Penix plays well, there's going to be a new excitement there. I've got a friend that's a Falcons fan, and he's not very optimistic, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him today about the change in quarterback. So we will see. But, I think Atlanta's a safe pick, and I hope Penix does real well. I hope he can come on and be ready to go next year as a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they're only one game back, so it's not like they're almost out of it. And they got the Giants this week, Commanders next week, and Panthers to close out the season. So, I mean, it's definitely in shot of getting the division still. And you're right. If Penix plays well, my goodness, now all of a sudden Atlanta's hyped, for sure. Now, Kevin Wilson chimes in on YouTube, says not to start Penix in fantasy. I'm not lying. I'm considering it. I picked him up. I'm still in the playoffs in one league. I picked him up because I got CJ Stroud, who's not been doing that great for me as well. I'm looking at the matchup here going, he's not currently in my lineup, of course. Actually, I have Anthony Richardson in my lineup this week. So what does that tell you? But nonetheless, Atlanta, I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. I'm interested to see how it shakes down for Michael Penix this week. But we got a lot of other good games going on this week. Let's start with the one I don't care about, the Rams and the Jets. Obviously, the Rams are looking to hold on to first place in the West. They travel to New York for this game against the Jets this week. And the Rams are 3-point favorites in this game, Dad. I lean towards the Rams. Which way do you lean?
Yeah, I lean toward the Rams just because they got a lot more to play for. Again, though, I definitely wouldn't pick them in my pick 6 because they've been so up and down. But you would think, with them being in the running and really in a good spot, that they would be, they'd be able to beat the Jets. But that's definitely who I would pick. But it's a little questionable. So
sure. On the battle for the number 1 overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars had 2 guys, Trevor Lawrence and Ingram, the tight end, have shoulder surgery this week. This game, Vegas is a 1.5-point favorite with Desmond Ridder as the quarterback. How do you feel about Raiders and Jaguars?
Yeah, you talk about a game that doesn't have a lot of excitement, but it is for the draft pick. And like I mentioned, I'm not sure any of those teams are going to win another game, but I would have to go with the favorite at home with Vegas on this one. So,
yeah, I mean, they could tie, I guess. Somebody has to win, it seems, and I'd go Jacksonville in this game, Dad. I think they're overall the better team, yeah, I'd go Jacksonville in this one. Let's see here. All right, let's go to Saturday night's games. Houston and Kansas City. Kansas City, a 3.5-point favorite here. Is Patrick Mahomes dinged up? I mean, he limped off the field, and we've seen him do that a lot, and it really never affected his play. So Kansas City at home is pretty tough, Dad. Which way you going, Texans or Chiefs?
Yeah, I'll go with the Chiefs on this one, being at home. Again, Texans are in good shape to win the division there. Might be a good game, but they haven't played, as well yet. And so we'll see. We'll see if Mahomes plays or not. But I think the Chiefs still are in good shape.
Yeah, both teams have clinched their division already. I'm going to go Texans in this one, Dad. Mainly, I just think the Chiefs are a little dinged up as well, and maybe being 2 games up on Buffalo, they're not as concerned necessarily as they should be. I know they're at home, and that's a really tough place to go in and play. I'm going to go Texans in this one, personally. Then the other Saturday game is Baltimore hosting Pittsburgh, a crucial game for the division. Baltimore, Dad, is 6.5-point favorites, even though they're currently the second-place team in the division to the Steelers. I'm surprised by that line. I'm not necessarily surprised that Baltimore's favored being at home, but by almost a touchdown, that one's kind of mind-boggling to me. Which way do you go with Pittsburgh and Baltimore?
Well, I've liked, the Steelers all year. I think it's been great what they've done. But I picked Baltimore in this one. They're at home. They've got a chance, to win the division. I think they're the better team, even though Pittsburgh has played real well this year. But this is a tough one for the Steelers. So I think I'd have to pick Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going Baltimore too. Last week they didn't really run the ball that great. Lamar Jackson still had a really good game overall. They had 170 yards, but 65 of those were from Lamar Jackson. And Derrick Henry only had 67 yards on 14 carries, but they threw the ball like crazy. 5 touchdowns. Rashad Bateman went off in this game as well. I like Baltimore, at home is why I'm picking them. And I'm also not a believer in the Steelers, and I've been pretty clear on that too. So I'm going Baltimore in this one as well. All right, let's see here. We've got an NFC East battle as well. Philadelphia travels to D.C. The Commanders 9-5, Eagles 12-2. Eagles have clinched the division and are the 3.5-point favorites in this game. Which way do you lean with Philadelphia and Washington?
I think I'm going to have to go with Philadelphia in this one. They're playing well. Again, they've got a shot at the number 1 seed, no doubt about that. I like Washington. I like what they've done, and they are, at home. But Philadelphia is, they're a tough team to beat right now, and so I'll go with the Eagles.
Yeah, I have such a hard time with this one, Dad. Philadelphia, when they're at their best, is probably the best team in the NFC. And when they're not at their best, they're probably like the 8th or 9th best team in the NFC. And it's just a matter of, can they stay consistent? Again, they have some issues too on the sidelines. I really don't trust their coach. But, man, they're just the better team in this situation. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Commanders at home. Again, they need to keep winning as well to get into the playoffs. They're currently in a good spot, and they've got the Falcons and Cowboys left after this week. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Washington. I'm going to go with some underdogs this week in my picks. Minnesota travels to Seattle. Seattle just got beat by Green Bay, and the Green Bay defense looked to dominate Seattle. Now they get to go face up against the Vikings, Dad. Minnesota, a 3-point favorite on the road. Which way you leaning?
We don't know for sure about Seattle's quarterback situation yet, do we, for this week? So
I have not seen. Let me see if there's anything on here real quick. He's not listed on what I'm looking at the moment.
as much as I want to say go Seahawks, that would help us in a lot of ways. I think Minnesota.
Geno Smith was a full participant in practice today.
Okay, well that could definitely make the game more interesting. But I think Minnesota's playing well. They've got a lot to play for. I think Minnesota, of course, Seattle does too. It's a chance to win the division. Right. Or definitely be for Seattle, but my pick, I would have to pick the Vikings on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Minnesota, but I'm hopeful I'm wrong. For sure in this one as well. I agree with you 100%. Last game to talk about is San Francisco traveling to Miami. Both of these teams in desperate need of a win. And when you look at it, the Dolphins are only 1-point favorites at home. Dad, how are you feeling about this game, Minnesota and San Francisco?
Well, I'm going to pick Miami in this one, I think. But again, San Francisco just, they're in tough shape and they haven't, been winning. I don't think they really have a shot at winning. The division would be in 2 games out with 3 games left, but we will see. Miami probably doesn't have a shot either, but, both these teams technically do. So, I'll go with Miami in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Miami, if they went out, they got the 49ers this week, Cleveland next week, and the Jets the final week. That could put them where they need to be. It'd still be hard for sure. Not sure they'll get to that, even if they win out, if they'll make the playoffs, but it gives them at least a likely possibility. 49ers, on the other hand, they got the Lions next week and then the Cardinals to close out the year. And I think the 49ers are going to be one of the most interesting off-season teams this season. With what are they going to do with Brock Purdy? What changes will they make in the offseason? Those kinds of things. I'm picking Miami. I think they're the better team currently. And I think they have the most hope of making the playoffs as well. So I kind of lean that direction for them in this game. I'll go Miami in the pick as well. All right. Any other NFL topics, Dad, that you want to discuss before we sign off?
No, it'd be interesting to see this week's games. It could really clear up the playoff picture, or at least it could eliminate a lot of teams, which I think maybe it will. If not, then the last 2 weeks, are going to be exciting too. But a couple of these division races aren't going to be decided, I don't think, till the last week. And definitely maybe the last wild card spot in a couple of these. So, there's a lot to watch, no doubt about that this week. From there, and like you mentioned at the start about the quarterback thing, a lot of interesting things, with the new quarterbacks there. So, it's been an interesting NFL season. I don't think this week will be any different. I'm sure there'll be a couple surprises.
I'm sure there will be, Dad. It's going to be a great weekend for football, and I want to remind people it's not too late to get your order in at righteousfelon.com to get your stocking stuffers for Christmas. And, of course, you got to have your jerky supply ready for the new year as well. Righteousfelon.com is where you can join the flavor revolution. Use the promo code STOVE15, STOVE15 at checkout for your discount there each and every time. Absolutely love Righteous Felon. And I know that you will as well. So make sure you check them out as well. Check our show notes for other sponsors, VidAngel and Pet Friendly Box, as well as Righteous Felon Jerky. And make sure you take advantage of those opportunities. Next week, we will have a show. The question is when. We don't know just yet when that will be, with Christmas coming up on Wednesday, Christmas Eve on Tuesday. I know I'll be busy then too, so I don't know when we're going to do a show, but we're going to try to get one in next week and try to give you the best football coverage. We'll break down the first round of the college football playoffs and continue to look at the playoff picture for the NFL and also the draft pick situation there, as well as the picks for next week. So the next time we see you, my guesses will be after Christmas. So we sure hope that you have a Merry Christmas. And as we look forward to the new year as well, it'll be a great weekend for football. So make sure you get a chance to enjoy that as well. Dad, closing thoughts?
Nope, I think that'll do it. Like I said, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you after that.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to today's edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. If you missed any portion of the show, you can go back and watch it on YouTube, on the Sports Stove Media channel, or on the Belly Up Sports channel. And you can also catch it wherever you get your podcasts on the Sports Stove Football Show. Make sure you're subscribed and ready to go there as well. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Sports Stove. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.